Introducing the Subaru BRAT, fun on wheels.
Back in 1978, Japanese automaker Subaru saw the popularity of car-based pickups like the El Camino and Ranchero in the United States, and reworked their Leone wagon to swap out the rear portion of the car with a truck bed, and called it the Bi-Drive Recreational All-Terrain Transporter, or BRAT. But due to the infamous chicken tax, which imposed a 25% tariff on light-duty trucks imported into the U.S., Subaru made the strangest modification to get the BRAT reclassified as a passenger car.
And the BRAT's back is wide open. So is the fun you can have in its 2 outdoor seats.
Ensuring its place in automotive history as one of the weirdest cars, truck, or something in between. This is the story of the Subaru BRAT. This is my old car.
The Subaru BRAT, fun on wheels.
So if you are a regular viewer of this channel, you know that I have also done some top 10 lists of weird cars, so far being those from GM and Ford, and a weird Chrysler episode will hopefully be on its way soon. I am also considering a top 10 of Japanese cars, and I definitely plan to include the BRAT on this list. Ironically, although it was designed and built in Japan by a Japanese automaker, it was never sold in Japan, but instead marketed for the United States, as well as Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. Those other markets called it either the Brumby or the MV pickup, and outside of North America, it still had the same small truck bed, but that truck bed looks somewhat different here, thanks to a tariff known as a chicken tax. The tariff got its name back when it was first proposed by President Lyndon B. Johnson in 1964. Back then, production of chicken in the US was booming, which resulted in plenty to export to countries in Europe. With Europe still struggling after World War II, their local farmers couldn't compete with American imports, and it was driving local chicken farmers out of business. By 1961, both France and Germany introduced higher tariffs on U.S. chicken imports, hence the name chicken tax. And it only took about a year before U.S. chicken farmers saw a loss of up to 25% in their sales. But at the same time, sales of German cars and trucks were taking a big bite out of U.S. auto sales. So Johnson countered the European tariff on chicken imports by adding a 25% import tax on all light truck imports into the U.S. Since the light truck tariff existed as retaliation for the European tax on chicken, the name chicken tax came to be known for the automotive tariffs as well. Although the chicken tax caused a significant decline in Volkswagen trucks and van sales in the US, as it was intended to do, it also affected truck imports from Japan. Subaru didn't see a market in their home country for non-commercial compact truck sales, but they did see the popularity growing in the US and Australia, the latter having their own car-based pickup that they called the Ute, short for utility, made by Australian automaker Holden since 1951. Ford would later design their own version as the Ranchero in 1957, and General Motors countered with the Chevrolet El Camino in 1959.
That's Spanish for the Camino.
Both of which using an existing station wagon platform as their starting point. Subaru decided to do the same, using their Leone station wagon as a basis for their new pickup. However, unlike the Ford and Chevy models, which were strictly rear-wheel drive, the Leone offered part-time all-wheel drive that could be switched on and off by the driver. As a result, the Leone had a slightly higher ride height than a comparably sized passenger car, so evolving the wagon into an off-road capable pickup wasn't a huge stretch. In 1978, Subaru launched its new pickup version of the Leone wagon in Australia as the Brumby, and in the UK as the MV. In those countries, it simply looked like a small pickup, and it had a traditional but small pickup bed. For the North American market, they came up with the name BRAT, which was supposedly an acronym for Bi-Drive Recreational All-Terrain Transporter.
That doesn't spell brat, that spells bedrat.
Whether or not that convoluted name was actually thought of first, or was an imaginative retcon to fit the name BRAT, no one knows for sure. But for the US market, which Subaru expected would have the largest sales potential, they faced a 25% markup on its price, thanks to the aforementioned chicken tax. Being such a small truck, Subaru's goal was to be cheaper than the largest potential rival, the El Camino. Its next biggest rival could have been the Ford Ranchero, however the Ranchero sales were in decline, leading to its end by 1979. Although it could be argued that the new Subaru pickup was a closer competitor to the Volkswagen Caddy pickup.
The Caddy? Where's the Caddy?
That arrived in North America in 1980, which was based on the VW Golf/Rabbit platform. Or some may say the Chevrolet Love, built by Isuzu, was more in line with the BRAT in terms of a true competitor. But Subaru wanted to keep their price down, which would have been hard if forced to sell with a 25% price increase. Subaru's workaround was, shall we say, unique. Because the BRAT had a pickup bed, the NHTSA, or National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, in the US, would have classified it as a light-duty truck, which in turn would have triggered the 25% tariff. So Subaru installed 2 rear-facing seats inside the truck bed and covered the bed floor with carpeting, effectively eliminating the truck bed to be used as, well, a truck bed. The rear seats were welded in place, so they couldn't be simply unbolted to be removed. The seats did have seat belts, although only lap belts, as rear shoulder belts were not required by law back then. Subaru even included grab handles for each seat, positioned so they almost looked like oversized video game joysticks. Commercials for the BRAT didn't try to hide the fact that the seats were there. Instead, they became the focus of the marketing, as Subaru decided to run with it as a unique feature that its target demographic would actually want. Those seats allowed the BRAT to be imported into the US with just a 2.5% tariff, as opposed to 25%. But what is even more amazing is that the NHTSA, which ironically has the word safety in their name, thought it was okay to allow passengers to sit completely unprotected in a truck bed. Along with the Leone's all-wheel drive, the BRAT was offered with the Leone's 1.6-liter flat-4 engine that could be paired with a 4-speed manual or 3-speed automatic, and a whopping 67 horsepower. Although considering the BRAT only weighed about 1,700 pounds, or 775 kilograms, that probably was adequate for the time. This engine was so small that Subaru was able to fit the spare tire under the front hood, which was a help considering there wasn't adequate space for the traditional spare tire location under the truck bed, probably because of the all-wheel drive. 2 different trim levels were offered, the DL, which had dual headlamps, and the GL, which had quad headlamps. Considering Subaru didn't command a large percentage of the US car market, sales of nearly 23,000 units for 1978 was decent for the time. Even Ronald Reagan owned one from 1978 through 1998, as he thought it was perfect for his ranch in Santa Barbara. Subaru sold about the same number for 1979, good enough that the BRAT remained on the first-gen Leone platform, even though the Leone itself got a redesign for 1979. However, by 1980, US sales had dropped by 50%, prompting Subaru to get the BRAT updated to the newer Leone platform for 1981.
Just tell him it's good looking.
The overall size and shape didn't change much, and unless you paid attention to the difference of square headlamps replacing the former round ones, you may not have realized it changed. The 4-cylinder engine was bumped up to 1.8 liters, but only made it to 71 horsepower. However, by 1983, a turbo 4-cylinder was offered that made 90 horsepower. As the chicken tack still remained, so did the rear jump seats, and to make it easier to climb into those seats, Subaru added a small foothole in front of the rear wheel. The new BRAT also offered what appeared to be T-tops, but upon closer inspection, they were more like dual sunroofs, with each pane of glass being removable. Even the suspension was adjustable to get an extra inch of ground clearance, although it required a wrench to adjust the spring height in all 4 locations. By the mid-80s, the whole truck based on a car design had somewhat run its course, as the El Camino sales had been dropping as well. Subaru removed the seats in the bed for 1986, in hopes to make it a better competitor against small pickups from Toyota, Nissan, and Mazda, who all, including now Subaru, had to pay the chicken tax. By 1986, the BRAT's US sales had dropped to only around 4,100, leading to Subaru's decision to discontinue the BRAT for the North American market after 1987, which also happened to be the last year of the El Camino. But as the Brumby, or the MV, it remained as an import for Australia, New Zealand, and Europe until 1994. When the BRAT was discontinued for the North American market, most probably didn't think Subaru would try to offer anything similar ever again. Yet that all changed for 2002 with the introduction of the Baja. The chicken tax, which is still in effect today, didn't apply to the Baja since it was built in Indiana, but safety regulations, not to mention public opinion, would have prevented the jump seats anyway. This time around, the Baja was based on the Subaru Outback wagon. However, Subaru claimed that this car/truck was an homage to rally racing trucks. At least the look of those trucks, as the Baja wasn't really built for that kind of abuse. Like the BRAT, the Baja was marketed by Subaru as a multiple-choice vehicle, which was a popular term to use back then, when sport utilities were gaining in popularity. However, the Baja had its critics, some saying that its tiny truck bed made it more of a fashion statement than a true utility vehicle. Although Subaru had projected sales of 24,000 units per year, they only managed to sell around 30,000 over 4 years. Some of the final 2006 models remained in Subaru's new car inventory as late as 2008. Subaru even allowed Toyota to take over part of their assembly plant in Indiana, where the Baja was once built, to recoup the losses. Today, seeing a Subaru BRAT on the road is a rare sight, but also a real treat for those of us who love weird cars and wish for a bygone era when automakers could get away with putting passenger seats into, of all places, a truck bed. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the like button and subscribe to my channel. If you once owned a car from the 80s to mid-2000s that you rarely see today and would like it featured in a future episode, leave a reply in the comments or contact me at the email shown here. See you next time.